Aborted with Retrogore. That'll wake you up in the morning, especially after doing a 24-hour marathon. Thanks to everybody that made that such a big-time success. But Retrogore by Aborted is the 9th offering that this Belgian group is able to deliver to us in their symphony of carnage that has blended the ideas of grindcore, of extreme metal, of gore metal, whatever you wish to call it, and really truly made Aborted one of the true, I guess, trailblazers of this genre, continuing to sort of blur the lines between where one ends and the other begins. Their last album was fairly decent. We heard some stuff off of Termination Redux that was pretty good, and now going into this album, there's some expectations. Though after 9 albums, as a band of this variety, how do you really change things up all of that much? And one of the things, honestly, that Aborted needs to do in order to keep things fresh is actually just to modify their current sound very slightly. And that's what they did on this album. On this album, you hear a lot of great pacing tricks that are used by this group. One that traditionally goes at about 1,000,000 miles an hour is now able to take advantage a lot more of slower pacing as just a different section of a track in order to give it a little bit of individual flavor. For example, on a song such as Termination Redux, you hear that there is a slowdown point that sounds like it's straight ripped out of a Carcass handbook. And then there are other moments where you hear some riffs on this disc that sounds like they are just a little bit over-accelerated doom riffs, which is very nice to see. Now, there are 4 guest vocalists that are on this album, and we have David Davidson from Revocation, who does some vocal work on the track Coven of Ignorance. We also have Julian from Benighton doing some work that is over on Cadaverous Banquet. We have Jason Kaiser from Origin kicking some serious ass on the Mephilic Conundrum, which is track number 9. And then, of course, we have Travis Ryan, the hero that you never knew that metal was going to give you from Ghetto Decapitation, doing some vocal work on Divine Impediment. And Divine Impediment is one that really showcases this pacing a lot greater than what I've described thus far, because this is one that does start off with more of a mid-range. It's one that starts off with a little bit more of that atmosphere of degradation and that atmosphere of the foreboding, almost as though you're watching one of those episodes of either Criminal Minds or a serial killer movie, and you're entering the scene where our killer, our hero of heroes, is walking down into his or her torture chamber, and maybe has the apron on and that butcher's mask. Either that, or perhaps we see what his face looks like for the very first time, and this is our kind of snapshot into his demented world. Perhaps there are victims that are slowly screaming in the background. That's sort of what this pace of music that you get to start up Divine Impediment really suggests. And the same thing happens with the very final track, In Avernus, which is very, very good. I like this closer quite a bit on Retrogore, considering it takes some of the lessons learned from the album and applies it to make a closing song that feels both unique, but also one that's fit for remembrance. That's 2 things that are very important. Aborted they are veterans of this game, so crafting and tracking an album is not all of that much of a challenge for them any longer. They really got this sort of concept really down packed. The only thing that ever holds back a band of this distinction is that sort of similarity concept that comes up so often whenever it comes to extreme music. Oh, that band did, it's a great album, it sounds just like their other stuff though, and that's what you get from perhaps a lot of outsiders. Sometimes you need to have that brutal sound in order to really continue to manifest positive change in your own tracking, because you're maybe tweaking with just the way in which a song is constructed a little bit, like you maybe would have heard in tracks such as Bit by Bit. I'm a very big fan of track 10, which is Forged in Decrepitude, considering this is a song that has a transition in the background, just a musical transition, nothing with lyricism or anything. It sounds like it actually could play a little bit into the Devin Townsend playbook, and I'm talking his solo work. So imagine sort of that density and that sort of just hovers in the background a little bit. And whenever I hear this, I almost read the whole album as a bit of a retro slasher flick or a retro horror movie. And whenever I hear those sounds, those Devin Townsend-esque sounds, It's almost like a faint ray of hope appears only to be slapped right out of the hands of those that are hoping to be saved with the rips that follow. With then, from beyond the grave, we now get to see that their fate is sealed going into in Avernum, which is essentially them perhaps witnessing their own death. Overall, I like what Retrogore is able to accomplish. Aborted right now, 9 albums in, is not a group that I feel is going to wow you with the album of the year. But they're going to make consistent records that are enjoyable to listen to, and it is going to continue to draw some more people into the fold of extreme metal. That's the one key aspect, the important part of what Aborted does that I feel that they continue to excel at with Retrogore. They continue to make this concept of extreme metal and grindcore to be a very, intriguing style of metal to really sample. They continue to make it a very interesting thing to sort of explore, similar to perhaps how they were interested in exploring it after listening to bands perhaps such as Mortuary. So I feel that this is a band now that's almost becoming a musical ambassador to the entire genre of extreme music, and especially grindcore or gore grind, whatever you really wish to label this as, because I know you all are going to dissect it as though you are a butcher yourself. But I think that they're doing a terrific job in maintaining that. Like I said, this album isn't going to necessarily knock you on your ass and wow you if you're a long-time Aborted fan. It's going to rank up there among their, above average albums, but it's not going to break into the pantheon, at least not by my estimation. You may have a differing opinion, and if you do, let me know in the comments below. But for me, I think that this is an 82 out of 100 album. Solid work, continues to stay a fantastic course, and I still love the fact that Aborted is tweaking things here and there as they go on. And for those of you who are wondering, what does Della Morte Della More mean from the very first track, old school horror buffs know. Learn some of these suckers. If you don't know what it means, don't be shy. Put it in the comments below that you don't. And then if you're an old horror hound, if you're an old school movie expert, a buff, let them know what's up. You're going to want to check it out. It's got some stuff in it. Some stuff you want to see. You know what I mean? I'm coverkillernation. Leave your thoughts about Retrogore in the comments below as well. I want to know what you think about this disc. Is Aborted still one of the best in this realm? Or have they simply turned into ambassadors of this realm? Or is it both? Let me know. I'm coverkillernation. I will talk to you guys next time.